Mother-in-law covered for my husband's affair, until I played the video at her birthday party. I wasn't supposed to be checking his iPad that Tuesday afternoon. But when you're homesick from work and your husband's tablet keeps pinging with notifications while he's at his quarterly review meeting, curiosity becomes inevitable. The first message I saw was from his mother. "Don't worry, sweetie, I told Emma you were helping me with errands all afternoon. She doesn't suspect anything." My stomach dropped through the floor before my brain even processed what I was reading. 3 months. That's how long my mother-in-law had been covering for David's affair with his coworker Rachel. 3 months of fabricated Sunday dinners at her house, invented home repairs that required his immediate attention, and phantom medical appointments she supposedly needed him to drive her to. The woman who held my hand during labor, who called me the daughter she never had, who cried at our wedding saying she couldn't have picked a better wife for her son. She knew. She helped. She lied to my face every single week. The messages painted a picture so clear I could practically see it in HD. Carol, my mother-in-law, had been the perfect accomplice. "Tell Emma you're helping me reorganize the garage. I'll say you were here if she asks. Remember to delete these texts, sweetheart." The word sweetheart made me physically gag. She used the same endearment with me. The betrayal felt double-edged, cutting from both sides of what I thought was my family. But here's where I need to confess something that makes me a hypocrite of the highest order. 2 years before I found those messages, I had my own affair. 6 weeks with a contractor who was renovating our kitchen while David was traveling for work. I told myself it meant nothing, that it was just physical, that David's emotional distance drove me to it. I ended it, deleted everything, and buried the guilt so deep I almost convinced myself it never happened. Almost. The contractor, Marcus, had made me feel visible again. David had been so focused on his promotion track, working late, canceling date nights, treating our marriage like a background app running on low priority. Marcus noticed things. The way I hummed while making coffee. How I tucked my hair behind my ear when I was thinking, small things that shouldn't have mattered but felt like water in a desert. The affair was wrong, inexcusable, but I rationalized it as a momentary lapse during a rough patch. I never told David. I convinced myself that confessing would only him, that carrying the guilt alone was my penance. I myself into being a better wife afterward. Date nights, surprise lunches at his office, the lingerie he liked. I thought we had recovered from that unnamed rough patch. I thought we were solid again. Finding out about his affair while sitting on my own secret made me feel like I was drowning in my own hypocrisy. The iPad kept pinging. More messages loaded. Photos of them together at restaurants I recognized. Screenshots of hotel bookings. Credit card statements Carol had helped him hide by claiming there were charges for things she needed. My mother-in-law hadn't just known about the affair, she had been actively facilitating it, managing the logistics like some kind of twisted personal assistant. I found the video by accident while scrolling through their shared photos folder. David had accidentally uploaded it to our family cloud storage. Him and Rachel in our bed. Our bed. The one we picked out together at 3 different furniture stores because I wanted the perfect headboard. The duvet cover I had splurged on for our anniversary. 23 minutes of them in our space, and at the end, his voice clear as day, "My mom's got Emma at her book club thing. We have at least another hour." My hands shook as I copied everything to my phone. Every message, every photo, every piece of evidence that my husband and his mother had orchestrated this betrayal together. But I also kept scrolling back to my own deleted messages with Marcus from 2 years ago, the ones I thought were gone forever but somehow my brain had archived perfectly. The guilt and rage were eating me alive simultaneously. That night, David came home with flowers. Tulips, because he remembered they were my favorites. He kissed my forehead and said his meeting ran long but went well. I smiled and said Carol had called earlier to check in, watching his face for any flicker of recognition. Nothing. He was that good at lying, or maybe I was just that blind. I thought about my own lies, how easily they had rolled off my tongue 2 years ago. We were both accomplished liars, it seemed. Carol called during dinner. "Emma, honey, don't forget about my birthday party planning meeting tomorrow. I really need your help with the final details," I agreed, my voice steady as granite while my insides churned. She chatted about centerpieces and catering, this woman who had been helping her son betray me, asking for my help to plan her 70th birthday celebration. The audacity was breathtaking. I couldn't eat. David asked if I was feeling better from being sick. I said yes, just tired. He offered to do the dishes, rubbing my shoulders as he passed behind my chair. For a moment, I remembered why I fell in love with him. These small kindnesses that used to mean everything. Then I remembered the video, his hands on someone else, and I had to excuse myself to throw up. That night in bed, David tried to initiate. I turned away, claiming I was still feeling sick. He spooned me instead, his arm heavy across my waist, and whispered that he loved me. I stared at the wall in the dark, feeling the weight of my own affair pressing on my chest while his betrayal burned in my stomach. Two liars lying in bed, both pretending everything was fine. I wondered if this was what rock bottom felt like, then realized I was probably nowhere close. The birthday party was in 5 days. Carol wanted it perfect, a celebration of her life surrounded by everyone she loved. She had no idea that her precious son's wife was about to give her a birthday present she'd never forget. Or maybe she did know, somewhere deep down, that enabling her son's affair might have consequences. Either way, she was about to find out exactly what those consequences looked like. The 3 days between discovering the affair and Carol's birthday party were the longest of my life. I became an actress worthy of an Oscar, smiling at David over breakfast, helping Carol finalize party details, all while the evidence burned in my phone like radioactive material. But the hardest part was wrestling with my own guilt. Who was I to destroy their lives when I had done the same thing? The hypocrisy was suffocating. I called in sick to work indefinitely. My boss, understanding as always, told me to take all the time I needed. I spent those days doing detective work that would have impressed the FBI. David's affair had been going on for 8 months, not 3. The 3-month mark was just when Carol started helping. Before that, he'd been sloppy, hence why he needed mommy to clean up his mess. I found restaurant receipts, Uber charges, a credit card I didn't know existed. The contractor's renovation had cost us $15,000. David's affair had cost at least $30,000 in dinners, hotels, and gifts for Rachel. Rachel. 28 years old, MBA from Wharton, legs for days, and apparently no moral compass whatsoever. She knew about me. Had met me at several company functions. Had complimented my dress at the Christmas party while apparently already sleeping with my husband. I found her Instagram, full of inspirational quotes about living your truth and following your heart. One post from 3 weeks ago really stood out: never apologize for going after what you want. Life's too short for regrets. I screenshot that one specifically. But then I remembered Marcus posting similar things on his Facebook after our affair ended. Sometimes the heart wants what it wants. Not all storms come to disrupt your life, some come to clear your path. I had liked those posts from my secret account, finding comfort in his coded messages about us. Now, seeing Rachel's posts, I realized how pathetic and cliché we all were. Cheaters telling themselves stories to justify the unjustifiable. Wednesday night, Carol came over to go through the final party preparations. She hugged me at the door, holding me extra long, telling me how grateful she was for my help. "You're such a good daughter-in-law, Emma. I don't know what I'd do without you." The hug felt like being embraced by a snake. I wanted to push her away, to scream that I knew everything, but instead I hugged her back and said I loved her too. Another lie to add to my collection. We sat at my kitchen table, the same table where Marcus and I had first kissed while David was in Shanghai, and went through the guest list. 73 people confirmed. Carol's church friends, her book club, David's extended family, neighbors, her retired teaching colleagues. Everyone who mattered to her would be there. She had rented the country club's main ballroom, hired a live band, arranged for catering from her favorite restaurant. This was her milestone birthday, and she wanted it perfect. "I'm thinking of renewing my vows with Harold at the party," she confided, referring to David's father. 45 years next month. "I want to celebrate love and family, you know? Show everyone that marriage can last, that family is everything." I nearly choked on my wine. This woman, who had been actively helping her son cheat on his wife, wanted to celebrate the sanctity of marriage. The irony was so thick you cut it with a knife. David came home while we were still planning. He kissed his mother on the cheek, then me on the forehead. So casual, so normal. "My two favorite women," he said, grabbing a from the fridge. Carol beamed at him with such maternal pride it made me sick. They chatted about work, about the party, about everything except the fact that he'd been inside another woman in our bed while his mother provided alibis. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about our son, Jamie, away at college in Boston. 19 years old, studying engineering, the pride of both our lives. How would this destroy him? But then I thought about how living a lie had destroyed me 2 years ago, how the guilt had eaten me alive until I became someone I didn't recognize. Jamie deserved the truth, even if it. Or did he? I didn't know anymore. Thursday was. David worked from home, sitting in his office just down the hall from where I was supposedly resting. I could hear him on calls, laughing at jokes, being the charismatic sales director everyone loved. Twice, I heard him on the phone with Rachel, discussing quarterly projections with a tone that was definitely not professional. Once, I heard him say, "I can't wait to see you tomorrow," before quickly adding, "at the meeting." I spent the day finalizing my plan. The video would play during the slideshow of Carol's life that I had volunteered to create. Right between photos of her retirement party and her recent cruise. I had edited it down to just 30 seconds, the most damning parts, including David's comment about his mom's book club alibi. I added subtitles to make sure everyone could understand every word. Then I made backup copies on 3 different USB drives, just in case. But I also spent that day writing a letter to David about my own affair. If I was going to destroy his life, he deserved to know I wasn't innocent either. I wrote about Marcus, about feeling invisible, about the guilt that had nearly driven me to therapy. I sealed it in an envelope and put it in my purse. I would give it to him after the party, after his world had already imploded. 2 wrongs didn't make a right, but at least we'd both know the full truth. Friday morning, Carol called early. "Emma, honey, could you pick up the photo boards from the printer? And maybe stop by the bakery to confirm the cake delivery?" Her voice was so warm, so trusting. She had no idea she was asking the woman whose life she'd helped destroy to run errands for her own destruction. I agreed, of course. One more performance in my award-winning show. The photo boards were beautiful. Carol through the decades, from a young teacher to a grandmother, surrounded by family and love. There was one of her holding baby David, looking at him like he hung the moon. Another of our wedding, her crying happy tears as David and I exchanged vows. The irony of it all made me laugh out loud in my car, a sound that was half humor, half hysteria. I stopped by the venue to help with setup. The country club was gorgeous, all elegant cream and gold. Carol had spared no expense. The centerpieces were stunning, white roses and baby's breath. The band was doing sound check, playing The Way You Look Tonight, which had been David's and my first dance song. Everything was perfect for what would be the most memorable birthday party anyone had ever attended. That evening, David showered and put on his best suit. He looked handsome, I had to admit. The same strong jaw that had attracted me 22 years ago, the same green eyes that used to look at me like I was his whole world. "You look beautiful," he said when I came out in my red dress. The dress I had worn to our anniversary dinner last year, when I thought we were happy. When I thought my secret affair was the only lie between us. "Carol's going to love this party," he said in the car, reaching over to squeeze my hand. "Thank you for everything you've done for her. You're an amazing daughter-in-law." I squeezed back, thinking about the USB drive in my purse, the one that would end everything in approximately 2 hours. "Family does things for each other," I replied. The double meaning was lost on him. As we pulled into the country club parking lot, I saw Carol greeting guests at the entrance, radiant in her silver gown. She looked truly happy, surrounded by people who loved her, celebrating a life well lived. For a moment, just a moment, I hesitated. Then I remembered the text, "Don't worry, sweetie, I told Emma you were helping me with errands." The hesitation evaporated. We walked in together, David's hand on the small of my back, both of us smiling and waving at people we knew. The perfect couple. The devoted son and daughter-in-law. Nobody could see the bombs we were both carrying, his made of betrayal, mine made of revenge and hypocrisy. The party of the year was about to become the scandal of the century. Carol's 70th birthday party was in full swing when I excused myself to set up the slideshow. The ballroom was packed with everyone who mattered to her, champagne flowing, laughter echoing off the walls. David was giving a toast about what an amazing mother Carol had been, how she'd always put family first. "She taught me that family loyalty is everything," he said, raising his glass. The irony was so perfect it felt scripted. I plugged in my laptop at the AV station, my hand surprisingly steady. The young tech guy helped me connect to the projection system, making sure the sound would play through the speakers. "This is going to be beautiful," he said, seeing the first few photos of young Carol. "Your mother-in-law is lucky to have you." I smiled and thanked him, knowing he'd probably need therapy after what he was about to witness. The slideshow was scheduled to play right after dinner, before the cake. I had programmed it to run automatically, starting with Carol's childhood photos and moving through her life chronologically. The video was embedded exactly 3 minutes and 40 seconds in, right after photos from David's college graduation. I had timed it perfectly. Once it started, I would have exactly 3 minutes and 40 seconds to position myself where I could see everyone's faces. Dinner was served. Filet mignon with lobster tail, Carol's favorite. I sat between David and his Aunt Margaret, who spent the entire meal telling me how lucky I was to have such a devoted husband. "Not many men are as close to their mothers these days," she said. "It shows good character," I agreed enthusiastically, while mentally counting down the minutes until her worldview would shatter. Harold, David's father, stood up to make his speech. He talked about 45 years of marriage, about raising David together, about how proud they were of the family they'd built. "Carol has always been the heart of our family," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "She's the one who keeps us all together, who makes sure we never forget what's important." The crowd owed. Carol dabbed at her eyes with her napkin. I watched Harold, this good man who was about to discover his wife's betrayal alongside everyone else. Then it was time. The lights dimmed, and the screen lit up with celebrating Carol, 70 years of love, laughter, and family. The music started, a soft instrumental version of What a Wonderful World. The first photos appeared to delighted murmurs from the crowd. Baby Carol. Teenage Carol. Carol's wedding to Harold. Carol holding newborn David. Each photo perfectly timed, 5 seconds each, dissolving into the next. I stood near the back, positioning myself where I could see both the screen and the crowd. David was sitting with his arm around his mother's shoulders, both of them smiling at the memories flowing across the screen. Rachel wasn't there, of course. That would have been too brazen, even for them. But I knew she was probably waiting for David's text about how the party went, maybe even sitting in our bed at that very moment. 3 minutes in. Carol's retirement party photos. Her recent cruise with Harold. 20 seconds left. My heart was pounding so hard I was sure everyone could hear it. 10 seconds. 5. Then the screen went black for a moment, just long enough for people to wonder if there was a technical problem. The video started with sound first. David's voice, clear as crystal through the speaker system, "God, I've wanted this all day." Then the image appeared. My husband and Rachel, in our bed, unmistakably engaged in activities that left nothing to the imagination. The gasps started immediately, a wave of shock rolling through the room. Someone screamed. Several people covered their eyes. But the video kept playing. "Your wife doesn't suspect anything?" Rachel's voice, breathy but clear. "No, my mom's got her at book club. She's been perfect about covering for us." David's response, followed by him pulling Rachel closer. The subtitles I'd added made sure everyone understood every word, even over the chaos erupting in the ballroom. Chairs scraping. People shouting. Someone's wine glass shattering on the floor. But the video played on for its full 30 seconds, ending with David saying, "I love you" to Rachel before the screen went black again. The lights came up on a scene from. Carol was standing, her face white as paper, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Harold was staring at her, his expression moving from confusion to understanding to rage. David was frozen in place, his arm still extended where it had been around his mother's shoulders, his face a mask of pure horror. "Turn it off," someone shouted, but it was already over. The damage was done. The slideshow had automatically moved on to the next photo, a picture of Carol with her church group, but nobody was watching anymore. David found his voice first. "Emma, I can explain." The cliché of it would have been funny if it wasn't so pathetic. He started moving toward me, but Harold grabbed his arm. "You son of a," Harold said, his voice deadly quiet. Then, louder, "You son of a." He pulled back his fist and punched David square in the face. David went down hard, streaming from his nose, while the party erupted into complete chaos. Carol was sobbing, surrounded by her sisters who were trying to console her while shooting murderous looks at both David and me. "How could you?" she wailed, though I wasn't sure if she was talking to David about the affair or to me about exposing it. Maybe both. I walked to the microphone at the front of the room. The feedback squealed, getting everyone's attention. The room fell silent except for Carol's sobbing and David's groaning from the floor. "I want everyone to know," I said, my voice surprisingly steady, "that Carol knew about the affair. She's been covering for David for months, lying to me about where he was, helping him hide it. The woman who just gave a speech about family loyalty has been helping her son destroy his family." I looked directly at Carol. "Happy birthday, Carol. I hope it's everything you deserved." The room exploded again. Harold turned to Carol with a look of such betrayal it was painful to witness. "Is that true?" he asked. Carol couldn't answer through her sobs, but her silence was admission enough. Harold walked out without another word, his brother running after him. David had gotten to his feet, his nose still bleeding, his suit ruined. "Emma, please, let's talk about this at home." The audacity of him thinking we still had a home together was almost impressive. "There's something else," I said into the microphone. The room fell silent again, everyone sensing more drama to come. 2 years ago, I had an affair. 6 weeks with a contractor while David was traveling. I'm not innocent in this marriage either. The gasps were smaller this time, people's shock meters already maxed out. But at least I never asked my mother to help me lie about it. I pulled a letter from my purse and handed it to David as I passed him on my way out. The details are in there. Now we both know the truth. The last thing I saw before leaving was Aunt Margaret fainting into her dinner plate. The aftermath was swift and brutal. David moved out that night, showing up with his brother to pack his things while I sat in the kitchen drinking wine. He tried to talk to me, but I had nothing left to say. The letter had destroyed him almost as much as the video. "We could have worked through mine," he said. "Why did you have to destroy my mother too?" I laughed, actually laughed at that. "She destroyed herself when she chose to help you lie. Carol and Harold separated the next day. 45 years of marriage, gone. She moved in with her sister in Florida within the week, unable to face anyone in town. The country club incident became legendary. Someone had filmed my speech and posted it online. It went viral with the title Daughter-in-Law's Birthday Revenge. I had to make my social media private after the 10th death threat. Jamie found out through the video, of course. Someone from his hometown sent it to him. He called me sobbing, then didn't speak to either David or me for 3 months. When he finally did, he said something that broke what was left of my heart: "You're both liars. You deserved each other." He was right. We were both liars who deserved each other, which is why we deserved to lose everything. The divorce was finalized in 4 months. We sold the house at a loss, both of us eager to escape the scene of so many crimes. I moved to a small apartment across town. David moved in with Rachel, though I heard through mutual friends that lasted about 6 weeks before she cheated on him with someone from her gym. Karma, it seems, has a sense of humor. I ran into Carol once, at a grocery store 6 months later. She looked older, smaller somehow. We stood there in the cereal aisle, 2 women who had destroyed each other, with nothing to say. Finally, she whispered, "I was just trying to protect my son." I responded, "I was just trying to protect myself." Both statements were true and utterly meaningless. Marcus reached out after the video went viral. A simple text, "I'm sorry you're going through this." I deleted it without responding. That chapter needed to stay closed, even though its shadow had touched everything that came after. Now I live alone, I work, I exist. Jamie visits occasionally, our relationship slowly healing but forever changed. He's careful with his trust now, questioning everything, suspicious of everyone's motives. I did that to him. David and I did that to him together, 2 liars who created a child who now can't believe in love without wondering what's hidden beneath. Sometimes I dream about that birthday party, about making different choices. What if I had confronted David privately? What if I had never looked at his iPad? What if I had never slept with Marcus? What if? But the truth is, we were always heading toward that explosion. 2 liars can only pretend for so long before the truth detonates everything. Last week was Carol's 71st birthday. I heard she spent it alone in Florida, Harold still refusing to speak to her. David posted a photo with her on Instagram, the 2 of them trying to smile at a restaurant. The comments were brutal. Someone wrote, "Like mother, like son. Both trash." Another said, "This is what happens when you raise a cheater." The internet never forgets. I thought revenge would feel like justice. Instead, it feels like standing in the rubble of a house you burned down yourself, holding the match, wondering why you thought the flames wouldn't touch you too. We all lost everything that night at the country club. Carol lost her husband and her reputation. David lost his family and his dignity. Harold lost his trust in the woman he'd loved for nearly half a century. Jamie lost his innocence and his belief in his parents. And me? I lost the illusion that revenge could heal the wound of betrayal, that exposing someone else's sins could somehow absolve my own. I'm no better than David or Carol. I'm just the one who lit the match that burned us all down. The video plays on repeat somewhere on the internet, a permanent record of the night I chose mutual destruction over quiet divorce, revenge over discretion, spectacle over dignity. Here's the truth nobody tells you about revenge: it doesn't erase your own sins. It just adds more bodies to the pile. David's affair, Carol's lies, my affair, my revenge, we're all guilty, all broken, all exactly what we deserved. Sometimes, when you play with matches, you don't just burn the house down. You burn the whole neighborhood, and then you have to live in the ashes, knowing you're the one who lit the fire. Every morning I wake up in my empty apartment, I remember that I'm not the hero of this story. Nobody is. The last text David ever sent me, after the divorce was final, said, "We could have been better." He was right. We could have been better. All of us. Instead, we chose to be exactly who we were: liars, cheaters, and enablers who got exactly what we gave. Betrayal isn't just about the act. It's about the aftermath, the scorched earth you're left standing on when the smoke clears. And sometimes, the person holding the match is just as burned as everyone else.